Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. Day 4, number 210.
Whew, we're racking them up.
Today is literally going to be a hot show, Frank.
It's going to be hot.
It's been a while since we've done a real kind of a, no pun intended, a deep dive into a fishing topic that you are well versed in. And as a treat for our viewers and listeners today, you have a hot take.
Oh man, today.
Did you like all those play on words there?
I do, man. You know what, Matt? That's pretty hot. It's hotter than donut greaser. Oh my gosh, we're going to a new level.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. I mean, basically, we've taken care of the ICAST releases.
Yeah.
We've taken care of all the bloviating for a while. And well, I'll throw the photo up right now. This is what Trailer Rick is currently dealing with.
Yeah, Trailer Rick sent that this morning and said, check this out. Today's topic should be good.
He's in 18.5-foot deep water. He's going 0.2 miles an hour. What's that water temp, Frank?
87 degrees.
Fahrenheit. I don't even know what that is for Celsius for our friendly neighbors to the north who plied their trade after soaking their baits in maple syrup.
I don't know what that translates to, but it's hot.
It's a lot of Celsiuses.
Yeah. So okay. So since we're going to talk about hot water fishing today, let's cover something. So, Lake Erie, as gigantic as that is, it's 88.2 now. Way to go, Rick. Hey, by the end of the show, it might be 90.
Yeah. We're going to get a shirtless picture of Rick in there in a sauna. Up to his neck in the lake.
Pouring water on a pile of rocks in his boat. Just taking a steamer. So Lake Erie warmed up faster than it's warmed up in like 10 years. That's a large body of water to heat up. So the heat wave that we've been having early on this year has really affected things. And the funny thing is, there's a lake that I fish at home where usually after the 4th of July, the offshore bite gets red hot. This year, that offshore bite went off after the first week in June. That's how warm the water, how fast the water warmed up. So I guess let's just get into it, man. We're talking about water temperatures above 80 degrees. So let's just take an average and say 85 degrees and above. So the question that everybody is like, how do we find active bass in this hot water? And usually end of July through August can be tricky to find, the active bass, but it doesn't have to be. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different conditions, and I'm going to save the obvious water condition for last because one, it's very obvious and it doesn't require a ton of conversation. This is the time of year when lakes will they'll stratify. That means there'll be a very defined thermocline, right? And you will not find bass below the thermocline. If you need to go through and redo a thermocline episode, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's episode 174. I could be wrong, but I think it's episode 174. Was a thermocline show. So the first type of lake I want to look at a non-grass lake, a typical structure-oriented lake. We'll say water temperatures 85 or above. Watercolor is stained. There's no grass, maybe a little bit of shoreline grass, lily pads, et cetera. The lake offers decent offshore options. So when a lake offers you deep shore options, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for steep breaks, big boulders. So if you're on a flat and it's got big boulders on it, That's what we're looking for. We're looking for bluffs. The reason being is this type of structure and cover offer shadows for the bass. Um, the shadowed water could be a little bit cooler, but it's more comfortable for them. So we're going to look at some other options on these lakes. Okay, obviously the early morning and evening offers great bite windows. Everybody knows that. This is the time of year when those bite windows are noticeable. They're very noticeable because then the sun comes up, right? And then all of a sudden the bites wane and now you're going through all these dead times. So what do we do when the sun comes up? I have an illustration here, boys and girls, if I could get it. So as the sun rises, what I look for is shadow banks. And what I mean by that is this. All right. I will look for steep banks, real super steep banks, hopefully with a lot of big standing trees on them. Can you see all this? Because I can't see.
Yeah, it basically.
Okay.
You look pretty much a Bob Ross painting.
Happy trees. We painted happy trees. Anyway, so what these steep banks and these trees do is they offer this shade line in here, and I fish the shade line. This is as the sun's getting up. So you want the big trees and the steep banks, and it keeps the shadow on the water longer. Until the sun gets to high noon, you got the shadows on that stuff. And so I focus on these shadow banks. The thing that I look for on these banks is boulders, blowdowns, any type of cover that will offer the bass additional shade and give them ambush spots. That's what I'm looking for. This is the bite I would say between.
So like that.
100%.
There's a we might get sued because I don't know if we're supposed to show that picture.
Well,
but it's got a watermark. So you've got a lay down right here. You've got now this is in the fall, obviously, people. So use your imagination. But you got a lay down right here. You got big trees that are hanging over the overhang bank. So there's cover, and you can clearly see.
And it's a little bit
shade line.
Right. It's a little bit flatter than I want.
Yeah. Well, for reference.
Right, for reference. So in the summer, this is really what we're looking for. We want a pretty defined break line on these shadows. It doesn't have to be super steep under the water, but the bank has to be tall. And usually if you have a tall bank, it follows to suit under the water.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. And these are going to be all the ambush points, and the bass are going to groove in that shadow line.
I found another one.
Yeah, there you go. And the bass are going to groove in that shadow line. So that's what we're looking for. And this is I would say this is like 9:30 in the morning until 11:30. You could find the shadow banks. Now, noon is going to be tough, but as the sun starts to break away from noon, the other sides of the lake will start to throw shade on the bank. That's a trick. If you're a bank guy and you like fishing that kind of stuff, that's a trick to get bites in the hot summer. Another really cool thing on lakes that are not grass lakes are, I call them debris pileups, where you might and I look for short, steep, deep pockets, and you'll get, when you have a windy time, it blows all the floating timber and all the debris in these little pockets, and it's like a raft on top of the pockets. The bass get underneath those rafts just like they would underneath a mat, and then you could punch through that stuff and catch the bass. These are, like I said, these are tricks for near shore and onshore fishing while it's hot, because believe it or not, there's bass that are shallow year round, no matter what the water temperature is. But now you have to fish the high percentage spots. That might mean you're passing up 1.5 miles of crap bank to get to something that offers you the steeper break with the shadow line. Exactly. I mean, that overhead cover is giving them shade in the sunlight. Another thing I look for is big giant blowdowns, because on steep banks, channel banks. Like I'm going to focus my efforts on channel banks. And here's why. The bass don't have to travel far. All they have to do is go up and down. Basically they just suspend and they're there, and they go down when it's uncomfortable for them, and then when the shadows come back, they go back up. They don't have to travel far. They're very high percentage spots. The other cool thing is stumps. Okay, stumps always offer the bass a shaded side, and I don't care how deep they are. They will always offer a shadow side, and you could see it a lot when you're um, live scoping or side imaging. The stump will throw a shadow. Now, live imaging, it's going to throw the shadow predicated on how the sonar beam is hitting it. But if you look at the sun, you could guesstimate where the real shaded side is. So if they're shallow enough to throw shallow cranks and square bills on them, my first cast is always on the shaded side.
That's a perfect example. So this is above the water, but picture under the water. So look at, you can actually see the shadow being cast off of this stump right here based on the angle of the sun.
Mm-hmm. And so remember, the first cast is probably your best opportunity for a bite. So you're going to cast on the shaded side of that stump, whether you're flipping something on it or whether you're throwing a square bill or a slightly deeper crankbait. Is you got to do the shaded side first. That's just the highest percentage. And of course, you always want to fish the wind. 100% you want to fish the wind in these hot water conditions, and we're going to get into that later because it's a little bit more detailed, and I'm going to show you some real stuff when we get to that. The other thing is, even though a lake is not a grass lake, more likely than not, you can find shallow shoreline grass on these lakes in the form of gator grass that grows on the bank and comes out, water willow, or bulrushes or lily pads. Great opportunity for frogs and buzzbaits early in the morning, even when the sun is up, because that stuff offers them overhead shade. It's a great pattern to run if you could find enough of it on the lakes that don't have grass and just cover water. It's like a true run and gun type of deal.
Yeah, and then there's a shade line on that too.
100%. That's what you're looking for. Now, of course, we're not going to be remiss and say that that's the only way to catch them this time of year, but this is the high percentage stuff. So we need to pay attention this time of year, because this is when the bass start to float. This is when the bass start to go towards the big balls of bait, and live scope or forward facing sonar will start to play. You may not be able to throw a minnow over a stump or a brush pile. If the bait's prevalent, they'll be by the bait. The brush pile, the stumps, the structure and cover underneath that is going to be where they take refuge and where they ambush. So you don't want to overlook that, but you'll see them scoping this time of year. I don't, this isn't a scoping show. I'm just talking about high percentage places and what to look for. And we're about to get pretty detailed here with some other stuff. So now I want to talk about grass lakes, because here's something really cool. I truly believe grass lakes are not as affected by the heat. I know that's not accurate, because they are. But grass lakes offer you so much other opportunities, and it's not complicated. So you're clearly going to look for mats, because the bass get up underneath the mats. But there's something else that happens underneath these mats. The crayfish feed on the juvenile snails. And so the crayfish get up underneath these mats and they're feeding on these snails. It's a feeding opportunity for the bass. The snails are real tiny. They're first of the year snails. They're tiny, and the crayfish eat the crap out of them. And so what happens a lot of times, like if you were to take a net and net a big clump of a mat and throw it in your boat, you're going to find these little crayfish in that, because they get upside down in that grass and they eat the crayfish and the small bugs and particles on the grass.
Hmm.
So that's something to keep in mind. Broken grass with open pockets, fabulous. Bass have a place to get shade. There's always going to be shade, whether it's underneath them or to the side of them, whichever side the sun's going down on them. This is where, you go, man, I had a top water bite all day long. This is frogs, super spook junior time. You cover a lot of water, you get the bites. And then of course, my favorite is deep grass, steep, deep, isolated grass, deep down. Like some of the lakes that I fish, the grass will grow 15 to 18 feet deep. Those bass use them all the time. It's fantastic fishing. The lure choices, I can't even get into it because there is so many. And basically, all I'm going to tell you is everything you would fish in grass will play. If you're shallow, it'll be frogs and flipping and buzzbaits and topwaters. As you get down deeper, you're going to use your punching and your flipping baits. And then as you get to the grass edges, you're going to use minnows and crankbaits and, all of that fun stuff. Even jigs, big jigs. I like to stroke a big jig in the summer on the deep grass. I don't get as many bites from small fish, but I catch big ones doing it. And of course, the 5-inch dinger on a 3/32 ounce Ned head is money at this time because it just floats down there and spirals on the way down. And if you see it on live scope, it looks like it's going like this on live scope, but really what it's doing is it's spiraling in a giant circle as it falls down. And that's really it for the grass lakes. I mean, to me, the grass lakes are the most uncomplicated. In the heat of the summer, they're the most uncomplicated, and you're always going to have a jig and minnow on, because you'll see big clumps of grass down there and no fish, and the fish are buried up in them, and you could float that thing over them and one will come out and look at it. If they don't take it, you could run a crankbait over it, and they might react to the crankbait using a stop and go or burning it past it. Like, I mean, cranking it past it. You could elicit a strike that way. That's a little bit more forward facing sonar friendly way to fish it because you can see what's going on. If you can't see what's going on down there, I like the Ned. I like the jig. I can get down in that grass. I can feel my way through it. I don't have to see the bait, so to speak. So that's the grass lake ordeal.
Do you want to continue with your manifesto, or do you want me to ask a couple grass questions before we move on? Because you're rolling, and we haven't done one of these, and I don't want to throw you off your game. So I can either keep the questions on the list here, and you can keep rolling.
Let the questions fly.
Okay, this is my how, and some of these might be more biologist questions than frank questions, but you're a genius. So,
so I've said.
I'm not a grass expert, but I was looking furiously for pictures of this. But there are times where that milfoil, that hydrilla, is either crispy or bright green. Obviously, the hydrilla is not going to lay down in your hand when you pull it out of the water, whereas the milfoil, the leaves will lay down. But it's that vibrant, bright green color.
Mm-hmm.
I've also run into it in the middle of the summer. Like, I've done this on Gunnersville before, a little bit on Wheeler, like just up north some, where it's really hot and it's got a little bit of slime to it and it's not as green.
Right. It's brown and orange looking.
Are you avoiding that stuff like the plague?
Well, here's what happened to me one day. This is actually the truth. I have a really good friend of mine. And he used to play for the Indians on the farm team. And I took him to a grass lake, and we were literally fishing the deep grass, and we were having issues getting bit. And I was ignoring the mats the whole day. And so I said, we're going to have to go and we're going to have to do mats because we're not catching any big fish out here. And I want to catch bigs, so we got to go to the mats. And so there's this freaking half a mile mat,
Mm-hmm.
and I started going down the mat, and my focus was on the green, crispy, beautiful looking grass. I go in there and we're both punching this crap and we're not getting bit. And I come to this big brown clump of dead looking, dying looking milfoil. And I pitch right in the center of it, 4-pounder. And I was like, what? And so here's what was happening. The grass on top was burnt from the sun. The grass underneath the mat was green. You couldn't see the green. It was brown. It looked orangish red, to be honest with you. So I got that first bite in that brown looking crap, and I just scanned the mat and I said, there's like 15 or 20 brown spots. Let's go hit them. And we caught fish out of every one of them.
What made them brown?
I think they get burnt from the sun.
But the stuff around it didn't?
No, the stuff underneath was green and vibrant.
Okay.
But the brown canopy must have been thicker, more solid, and offered a better shadow for them. For lack of knowledge, I don't understand why they chose it, but they chose it. I mean, it's no different than if you're flipping buck brush and blowdowns, and every time you fish into a buck brush, you catch a 12-incher. Every time you fish into a hardwood, you catch a 3.5, 4-pounder. The better bass chose something. There was something, the reason they chose it. Well, I narrowed it down after the first bite because I had fished too much good green looking stuff and not caught a big one to say, hey, this is the first big one I caught. And then we went through and just fished the brown stuff and we caught them. And at the end of the day, we had a great bag of bass.
So the mat, so what I'm hearing basically is it's fish in grass lakes are going to behave differently than fish in non-grass lakes in extreme temperature situations, but they're both going to be predicated a lot around shade. And it just so happens that in general instances, the way that fish try to escape that heat because they're cold-blooded or whatever in grass lakes makes them more predictable and accessible to catching than it does in the non-grass lakes.
Yes, 100%. Okay. I find that also in the grass lakes, the crazy thing about grass lakes is you really only have to fish as deep as the deepest grass can grow to stay in a strike zone. Now,
say that again.
You only have to fish as deep as the deepest grass could grow.
So if you're on a grass lake and you're looking at your side imaging and you see that there's not a blade of grass below 16 feet and you're on a grass lake,
that's your deal.
You can pretty much bank on that the fish are going to be 16 feet or less.
Right. Now, here's the tricky part. There are some lakes that are considered grass lakes that also offer you structure opportunities away from the grass.
Right. Well, hybrid action going.
Right.
Hybrid,
it's like a perfect meld of this is the lake I want to fish because you could,
like a Champlain.
100%. I was just going to say Champlain. 100%. That was the words were going to come right out of my mouth. Champlain.
And Chuck's mouth.
And Chuck's mouth, because this lake offers you grass opportunities, equally offers you structure opportunities, equally offer you pelagic opportunities. It's one of the most diverse fisheries I've ever fished in my life and one of my all-time favorite lakes to fish because of that. Now, that being said, because of that, okay, you could spend a lot of time fishing and not catching until you figure out what's going down. You know what I mean? So it's very important to understand that. True grass lakes really almost don't ever have to fish as deep as the grass grows.
So that's kind of like the same rule also as which we've done in previous shows, which is, as a rule of thumb, you scan out, you see all the baits in 19 feet of water in the summer. You've never been on the lake, so now you're going to look at that where that thermocline is. You're going to look
Yes.
at the bait is, and the bait is going to be above the thermocline in the most part. And now you're going to scan the lake for structure that meets where the deepest bait is.
Yes.
And now you're going to have fish on structure above the thermocline with the best opportunity to eat. So this is kind of another one of those rules to where I never even thought about that. I struggle so much on the grass lakes. Yeah, that's great.
So I'll be honest with you. Back in the beginning of my illustrious career, it
was pretty illustrious. Rookie of the Year, Bassmaster Open titles, Bassmaster Classics.
It got there.
Title sponsorships,
but it was
nationwide commercials.
It was a learning curve. It got there. It was a learning curve. Grass lakes were the bane of my existence.
Yeah, I hate them.
Like I would go to Florida and I might as well slept in, went and got breakfast, and said, I'm not going to launch the boat today. That's how bad grass lakes affected me. So what I did was I made a conscious effort to find as many grass lakes as I can and fish the crap out of them until I started to understand it. Once I started to understand it, it was so simple. I wanted to hit myself in the forehead because I'm like, how could I have not even seen this? You know what I mean? How in God's name could I have not seen how simple this is? Like punching used to be the most daunting thing for me. I hated doing it. I just thought you punch the mats and you go down and punch the mats. And then I would go to Florida and I would punch mats and I would barely catch a fish doing it. And I would have to get offshore to catch fish. And I was like, what's going on? I know guys are catching these giant fish punching. And then I said, well, wait a second. Forget the grass. Look at the contours. Look at the structure. Look at the high spots, the hard spots, the shell beds. Then put the grass on top of it and go, oh, there's a shell bed underneath that, Matt. I got to fish that one. And that's when, and all the pieces of the puzzle started coming together for me. And so when I started, all my free time I spent fishing grass lakes because I needed to learn it because I was getting my brains kicked in. So once I did that, to me, grass lakes are easier to fish than structure lakes, way easier, because the grass, the bass are predicated with the grass and the grass is predictable. So that's kind of how that came about.
One more question then. On a grass lake, when it's like that, are you, we got Trailer Rick looking at the water temp there. Yeah. Once you get on the water, it's hot water temp. It could be whether you're up north, if that's over 80, it could be 90, 95 if you're on the Potomac, like some of those guys just were in that Invitational or the BPT.
Yeah.
Are you paying attention to the water temp, or are you at that point just saying it's freaking hot? Yeah, these are the high percentage areas.
Yeah, no, I don't. Once I know that we're into the, poaching range, the cooking range of fish, I don't pay attention to it anymore. But I look for certain things. Like here's something I learned in Florida. This is called, like I call them grass pass-throughs. Okay, so you might have a bunch of maiden cane, boat canal, a boat path through the maiden cane. The wind's blowing, the mouths of these pass-throughs, the current will funnel in because of the wind. Bass will stack up on the mouths of them, but the bass will also stack up where they actually run back into the main lake again. That makes it, that narrows it down. So like if I'm throwing chatterbaits or spinnerbaits, if I got wind coming in and overcast clouds, I can run the pass-throughs, the fronts of them and the ends of them. And so what I'm fishing I'm not fishing the grass, but I'm fishing what the grass is doing to the current there. The wind's doing to the current and the grass is funneling it in, making the current a little bit quicker. All your golden shiners and stuff, because there's a lot of golden shiners in Florida, all your golden shiners and stuff dig the current. It's bringing them the plankton that they eat. And they're all in there, and the bass are using it as feeding zones. It's a very high percentage deal on grass lakes is pass-throughs. I call them pass-throughs. I don't know what the hell they're called, but some of them are like boat lanes through them. Some of them are just where the grass doesn't grow. Maybe the composition's a little harder or a little deeper, et cetera, but there's a reason for it. And you could use the wind and the current to your advantage in the hot water times.
Perfect.
So now I'm going to get into the easiest, well, maybe not the easiest to fish, but the easiest to understand. And this is current, because in the hot water months, current is money. It's absolute money, because it's bringing everything in. It's offering them a mix of water temps. It could be a couple degrees cooler in the current. Makes feeding easier for them. Everything. So and current applies on all bodies of water, whether they're rivers, lakes, reservoirs, grass lakes, structure lakes. Current and the wind apply to everything. So what are we going to look for? So I said wind, all right? So we clearly know wind generates current. So I'm going to look for, here, I'm going to just say this list really quick, and then I'm going to show you something on the Deep Dive app. I'm looking for funnels, pinch points, wind blowing around points, top of humps, because we know in past structure shows, as the bottom elevates closer to the surface, you got more current that runs through there. And the wind can generate enough current to position the bass for feeding on the tops of these humps. And then, of course, live drains. Live drains is also a money. It's money live drains are money in the hot weather. So, all right. So let's go to the Deep Dive app, because the first thing I'm going to try to show you here is a funnel. So, let me just find a quick one here if I can. Okay. I have one right here. Okay, so let me get my trusty pen going. Let me get white so we could see this. Over here, our funnel is right here, where the wind's blowing through these two passes. That's our funnel. Okay, so what's happening is, let me delete this. So what's happening is, this tiny area in between here, your current is pushing through there. So the current in here is much stronger than, say, out here, because it's got a pinch point between the two land masses. Your pinch point between this land mass and this land mass is very narrow, so you have current running through here. So as I blow this up, I'm gonna have to take this off. So as I blow this up, you see the highlighted area. You see the highlighted area, how it runs through here. So I know that from looking at this, these are my high current areas. I'm going to have a lot of current right here. And I'm going to have a lot of current right here. So those are two very, very, very high percentage areas, is right through this pass through. All right. Another thing you want to look for are funnels, that's a funnel. So, and a pinch point, really. But here's another thing we're going to look for. Let me see. I had one, but I deleted everything. So let me see if I could find it again. Another thing I like is to find pass-throughs on islands. God, I had a good one. I don't know where it is. Here's one. Okay. Pass-throughs on islands. It's the same principle as before, where you've got this area here and this area here in between the two islands. Now, if there is a saddle on these two islands, if there is a saddle that connects these two islands, this could be dynamite, because the bass will sit on that saddle. You'll have wind pushing through there. It's generating a lot of current. It's being pushed between the two islands. The current's going to be faster over there.
And it's not current you're going to be able to see.
No.
Or feel.
No, because it's all wind generated. So
Yeah.
here, so if you look at the arrows are the wind direction. If you look at the
Yep.
high spots, the light and the dark, look at the dark as a shadow. Where the shadow is, there's not much wind.
Yep.
Where the hot light spots are, there's a lot of wind. Where the orange stuff is, like right here, oops,
Yeah.
where the orange stuff is, like right here, okay, that's getting direct hit by the wind.
Yep.
So what you can do is with this app, you can literally go zoom out and you could go, oh my gosh, look at this.
That's
Okay.
actually perfect because there's not very much it's getting hit by it and it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right, it stands out. So you could go look at the wind, that's direct hit. That's a direct hit. Okay, this is a direct hit. So now you can see what's going on. So if you're running the wind pattern, you could literally zoom out on the lake and you could literally just start scrolling and you could see all the bright orange spots as a direct wind hit all over the lake. Now all of a sudden you could run and gun a pattern. If you're fishing the windy stuff, you could run a bunch of patterns. So now you got to understand something too. Around points generates extra current as well. So like right here, I got to blow way up on this. So right here, you'll see as the wind blows off of that, there's going to be a lot of current here and there's going to be an eddy back here.
Mhm.
All right. So I'm going to fish this part of it where the wind is directly on it. Same thing with this one here. This is another good example. This one right here, you've got the wind hitting it directly. So I'm going to get current there, but I'm really going to get current right down here. So this is where I'm going to fish. That's
Okay.
why this is one application of this app that I use a lot because the wind changes throughout the days and everything. So if you see here, what I'm doing here is I'm scrolling through. The wind's going to change throughout the days, and so if I notice that I'm going to be fishing over here, for example, I know I'm going to have stronger winds. And so now I'm going to play that wind pattern. So as the day progresses, the wind might start out slow and low. As the day progresses, you might get more wind. You could pop the app up and you could go, oh my gosh, we got to run here, 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 and here, and start running all over the lake to find all the spots that have that bright direct wind on them. And so it's very easy because now what you're doing is you're literally you eliminate dead water at a glance and you could run and gun a pattern. Running and gunning a pattern is fantastic way to cover a lot of water and give yourself opportunity for bites every time you shut the boat down. If, in other words, here, if you're going to mill through an area, if you're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to fish all this and fish all this and all this, and then all of a sudden, bam, I got a bite. Bam, I get a bite. Bam, I get a
Like,
bite.
oh, I found the stretch where they're living. No, there's a reason why they were there.
Correct. It's the wind. And so by using this app, you now just eliminated piles of non-fishable water, piles of it. Okay. That's how I use this app. Because what I want to do, and I do the same thing for water clarity, which we've showed you before, where you go in and do water clarity. I've done the same thing with that. So I'm using this app to pinpoint places I need to go fish. Not necessarily, except for this wind issue, it's not necessarily the exact place I'm going to fish, like with the water clarity issue, but it's a section of the lake I want. Maybe I don't want it super clear. I don't want it dirty. I want that stained medium type of clarity to it. In the springtime, I'm looking for more clean water. When I say spring, I'm talking northern spring where the water temperature is still 45 degrees. I want clean water. As the water temperature warms, I'm going to start looking for dirtier water. Not filthy dirty, but dirtier water because it keeps the fish shallower longer.
Okay.
And so that's how you play this game. Now, I talked about live drains, and I talk about live drains all the time. Live drains are very important in the hot weather because if you have an evening rainfall, you're going to have water coming into the system in some capacity. And I'm going to look for moving water. This is very critical for all bass species. I'm going to say spotted bass, really critical. Really, really critical. Smith Lake in Alabama, one day all I did was run active drains and I plastered them. Lake Norman, active drains, plaster them. So active drains, all I do is I go into here and I'm going to go into water inflows. I'm going to click on water inflows, and every blue dot that you see on here is a live drain. Now, summertime for me, this one's too far back. So what I'm going to look for is the shorter pockets closer to the main lake that have these drains. It's a short pocket. Here, I'll just have to do this again. It's a short pocket. It's shorter. It's got an active drain in the back. And that's what I'm going to look for. I want to find as many active drains in short pockets as I could find. And here, this one's great because it's actually dirty. You can see this real easy here. Oops, I made a mistake. Clear, doom. So you could really see it. You see how the dirty water's pushing into this pocket right here? This drain is very active. So there's going to be current here. Now, you may not go into the dirt, right?
But you can get right there around the edge where you got a little color that's going to keep them up. You can actually see on that kind of out towards the mouth of that, there's a dugout right there. Plus
you got all this. Yep. You got this dock here's got a dredge on it. You've got this point that comes out underwater here. So if this is active, there's current flowing out. This pocket's a good bet.
And you're not going to roll into that and be like, my God, look at the rolling current. You're not even going to notice it.
You won't even notice. There's going
to be something moving that in that heat, in that temperature, that's critical.
Right. And so that's the beauty of the active drain game. And this app has them. You could get current flow charts and everything on this.
Yeah.
So it's really unique. You know, and as you go farther and farther up the river, now look what's happening. Okay, now these drains are right on the river edge.
Yep.
All of these drains are right on the river edge. Here, here. This stuff here, this is critical. I mean, this is what you want to look for. You know, this one here. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you look for. And this is what the app will help you do in an instant. I mean, like, we'd have to physically run down there in our boat to find all of these.
Yeah, then some of you wouldn't even know if they were where they went, whether there's just a dead end pocket or whether there's actually a drain in the back.
Right. So you're seeing all the active flow in this whole thing right there. So I know if I'm running active drains, look at how many there are just in this stretch. Yeah. I'm going there to check, because if the bass are using them, I've got a ton of places to fish here. That's how you use this app, guys. I mean, this is the quintessential way to use this app. And I'll sit at home before I go, and I'll turn it on and I'll go through my stuff, and I'll see it, and I'll go, okay, I'm going to Lake X. What's going on Lake X? Like I went to a lake at the end of June. I went to a lake, and our weather was really goofy. So I pulled the app up and I looked at the mud flow in the dirty water flow in the lake. And I saw that it wasn't affecting where I really wanted to fish. So I went there, and me and my cameraman absolutely plastered them. Like it was offshore bite from hell. I mean, I caught them on DD22s, Norman NXSs, and Fat Free Shad 7s. And then when that bite slowed down, I Carolina rigged them and picked up all the residual fish off the Carolina rig. It was a great day. I would never have gone there if I didn't open up the app and see, because we had a lot of rain, and I thought, man, that lake gets dirty so fast. I put the app up and I said, holy crap, I got good water where I want to be. So I'm going to go there, because I was going to choose a grass lake other than the lake I went to.
Now, the first question that comes to mind on this, so whether it's grass or whether it's a non-grass lake, is bass metabolism in really hot water? Obviously, they're cold-blooded. They're the temperature of whatever the water is, right?
Yes, the bass take on the temperature of the water.
So obviously, we know what happens when it's 35 to 45 degree water. Well, lethargic, slow down. They're taking caloric intake versus energy expended to determine whether they're going to go after the prey or not. What happens to the bass activity in extremely hot water? Are you less likely, like, I know we throw top waters and stuff early in the morning. Do they do the same thing to where they're like,
so let's
yeah,
I love the question, because here, let's talk about metabolism for a second, because as the water warms and the bass's body temperature gets warmer, they need to eat more frequently. When people say in the cold weather months their metabolism slows way down and the bass don't move and all this crap, it's a bunch of BS. The only thing I can differentiate between winter and summer is in the winter, when you catch them, they don't jump. Up north, for whatever reason, they won't jump. Once the water temperature is, in around 45 degrees, they don't jump anymore. That's what I can differentiate. I've seen them run down stuff so fast in the wintertime, it's sickening. Like, physically, I can't see a slowdown in physically, I don't see a slowdown in them. But what's really happening is they want an easier meal. They're not going to expend the energy to get it unless they know they can get it. And then they don't have to eat as frequently. So where a bass might take a 7-inch shad and then not have to eat for 4 days in the winter, he'll eat that 7-inch shad, and in the warm months, he's got to eat again 2 days later or a day later. He's got to eat again. So that's the real truth about metabolism. I don't know that their metabolism slows down when the water gets warmer, because they have to eat more frequently the warmer they are, because they're burning up the energy. So I think that they're opportunistic predators. They're always going to eat something if the option arises. If it's easy, they're eating it. And so that's kind of how I look at it. There's one thing else that we need to discuss that we probably haven't discussed. So with this current game, this is when tail races become major players. If you're ever on any of the Tennessee River chain or any of the lakes that have a set of lakes, dam to dam to dam, and there's always a tail race, this is where the tail races can be really a lot of fun to fish, because the fish are always active, they're always feeding, they're always in that current, and it's a place of glory. If you figure it out up there, it can be really, really good. So don't overlook the tail races in the heat of the summer. It's probably one of the more predictable places to fish. Other than that, any rivers and reservoirs that are pooling water, all current locations apply. Everything we just talked about with the Deep Dive app, it always applies on current generated lakes. The thing that I noticed about lakes that actually generate current, the bass become current feeders. If they don't pool, they don't feed. That's the one thing I learned. Lay Lake, I got my brains beat out on Lay Lake, because I didn't think the current was that important. But the fish in those reservoirs, that's their lifestyle. Man needs energy. Man pools water. Water current moves. Fish start to eat. Man doesn't need the energy. Stops pooling water. Fish go, screw it. We'll wait till the next time the water flows, and then we'll eat again.
Once a month, we're going to do a new caveman episode.
Yeah. Hey, what about the episode we were going to do things we hate about fishing? Remember that?
I think about 75% of the shows end up there.
Yeah, exactly.
I did that before we went live today.
Yes, you did. You had a wonderful rant that we won't rant about.
Oh, I want to rant about
Trying.
it so bad. Save those photos.
Save them.
Yeah.
Okay. It's saved. It's in my pile of trash. It's saved.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, that's really it. You know, the only thing I hate about fishing in the hot water is that it's hotter outside.
Yeah.
And that's truly the only thing I hate, which brings me to the last part of this, and that is stay hydrated. You have to stay hydrated. And I'm going to tell you something. You have to eat a little bit of food periodically throughout the day because you have to keep your energy level up. Nothing sucks the life out of you more than dehydration in hot weather.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to be quick on your feet. Your decision making is going to be slowed down. You're going to start to get miserable, and then you're going to start making mistakes, and you're not going to be paying attention. And then you're going to let fish get away from you because you're not focusing on what's going on during the day. So stay hydrated and eat a little bit of food periodically throughout the day. You don't have to eat a ton because the more food you eat, the more energy you burn, the hotter you get. So you just eat little bits periodically throughout the day, and life will be good. You'll get off the water and you won't feel like you just got hit by a truck. So, words of advice.
Well done. That was a good show. It's a good deep dive. There are people who ask deep dive. I'll pull this back up. Is a valued sponsor of Bass Talk Live and Day 4, and
they
are
are.
working diligently behind the scenes. Like to be able to do stuff like this, you have no idea how much computer savvy and work and hours of man work go into it. I know a lot of the viewers and listeners of Day 4 and BTL are familiar with the deep dive app. But if you're on your phone, you can't like get it like really on your PC yet. If you're watching on your phone, just go to your app store, type in deep dive app. There is no code set up for BTL yet, maybe in the future on that, but that's like the premium, well worth. It's less than $100 for the whole year.
Yeah, it's like I said,
it's hard to sell me on an app, Frank. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's hard to sell me.
I turned down about 6 or 7 different apps. I've turned down a lot of apps, and I've turned down a lot of like THC or like the cannabis creams and stuff like that for BTL that I haven't done. But I literally, when this app came out, and I was like, okay, this is something that helps me, that I can see helping fishing. It's not a money grab for you pay us and then we'll get people to download it and they'll never open it again. But hey, you know, I got my money from you and you got your app downloads. This is something that is active that we use, that guys on tour use.
Yeah, like I said, this is an app that's actually very, very applicable.
So Nick, great comment. He said, doesn't the Omni app have a lot of the same features? There are similar features on the Omni app, but totally different. The way I look at it is, you know, no one has just one plastic worm, or no one has just one crankbait or anything like that. Like there is a time and a place for that. Omni also has a lot of different options that you can do with it. They do like some bottom hardness and can throw some weather and stuff in there on top of the map. They have contours on Omnia, but then there's a bunch of stuff that Deep Dive does. It's a lot better than what the Omni app does. Yeah. I literally I work with both of them. I use both of them. I have both of them on my phone and use both of them on a regular basis. So
yeah, I mean, any tool that you could use to help you eliminate water, that's really where I'm at.
Exactly.
I don't really need a tool to tell me where to go fish. Mm-hmm. I need a tool to tell me I don't need to fish here. And so I can eliminate water. Eliminating water makes you more efficient, helps you find fish faster, etc. You know that. You know
the thing that I found with the Deep Dive app is, let's just say I'm on a body of water, even one like a body of water that I know well, and I'm fishing and I get a couple bites. I will then go to the app and I will start adding different layers to it. And what I am looking to do is, knowing where I had those bites on the lake, I will then add different layers to see if I can see a pattern as to why those bites occurred there. Like you said, is it a wind? Is it a bank? Is it the current deal? Is it a water clarity thing?
Right.
Is it a float? Like, you can look at
it
that
helps.
app then and then go, oh, and then from that, so I'm not there because of the app, but I'm using the app to determine why I got the bites. And then from there, I can say, okay,
out.
well, this, and this should also be beneficial.
100%. I was on, oh shit, not Watts Bar. I was on,
Amelia Henry?
no,
Norman?
No, it was, I can't even believe I drew a blank, but I'd never been on the lake before in my
The
life.
Great Salt Lake.
It was by, yeah, and all I caught were flamingos. It, I had never been on there in my life, and I was getting what I determined was random bites. Like, I was struggling. I would catch a few fish here, catch a few fish there. Wasn't putting the pattern together. I had paper maps with me. I was marking down every place I got a bite. And I said, I got to figure something out here. And I plopped the map down on my boat, and I started to see where I was getting the bites. And I went, oh my God, this is so stupid easy. And then I said, I need to go here, 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 here. And I went and I plastered them. And it was, but it took me, for whatever the reason, I was fishing so many things and so differently throughout the lake, that when I was getting the bites, I wasn't putting them together until I literally just drove the boat into the middle of the lake, shut it off, pulled a map out, pulled a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out. I was looking at the map, eating, and then all of a sudden the bell went off. And I said, holy crap, I know what I got to do now. And then it changed everything for me. It changed the whole game and on that lake for me. That's what these apps can do for you. You can literally, it helps you recognize a pattern. If you're not 100% focused, it can help you recognize a pattern and dial in on it. So yeah.
You know what I'm super excited about,
Frank? I do not.
Tomorrow on Netflix, it's already out, I think, in theaters. Tomorrow on Netflix, Happy Gilmore 2 drops.
Oh my gosh. Really?
I mean, hockey, golf,
Adam
Sandler, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better.
Happy Gilmore 2 drops on Netflix. So
yeah, tomorrow.
July 25th.
Tomorrow I might venture out to a lake I've only seen a couple of times and do nothing but just side image and graph.
Have you? Ooh, it'll be a challenge to see if I can ask this question without getting in trouble. So once you got really good with once you understood the power of the jig and minnow and the pelagicness of certain species of fish in lakes that have specific types of bait fish, you mentioned that there was a fishery that you had success on at particular times of the year, but they became very ghostly during other times of the year that was not close to your residence, but that you expressed great excitement about potentially traveling to see if said species in said lake chasing said bait fish could.
I'm tracking your question, and here's the short answer. I have not unlocked that lake yet.
Have you been there? Like when they are supposed to be doing what they're doing and tried doing it?
No, I was there once, but it wasn't going down. The bass were still very shallow.
You got to go do that, Frank.
I am absolutely.
Because I mean, you've got like 2 months now.
I know.
Like this is
I'm not doing
the nectar sector right now.
I'm just not doing it in 97
witching
degrees.
Hour.
Yeah, I'm not doing it in 97 degrees, man.
You would want to hear the rant. I don't do rants.
No, period. You can't. He's not going to do this rant.
I do rants behind the scenes, though.
It was very good. It was a very good rant, articulated quite well,
You know
and
why I
very much
rant
to
well?
the point.
Because I know that I'm right. Like it is the correct, like it is right.
Hey, listen, anytime you make an argument where you believe you're 100% right, two things happen. Either you're 100% right, or you're just arguing a point that doesn't need arguing. But in this
Well,
case, I think you're right.
it obviously needs arguing
Yes, I
because
think you're right. I'm not going to disagree with you. I think you're right.
there's a lot of people who take a different stance just to make themselves feel better when they lay their head down at night on a pillow.
Yeah, all I
Oh,
want to
okay, we're done.
do, all I want to do is lay my head down and sleep.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
All
Just
right, that was a fantastic show. Next week is the holy smokes. Next week is the 31st, Frank.
golly, man, alive. This time's rocketing by. I mean, it won't be long before I'll be donning my striker ice fishing suit, catching bass in the
Oh,
cool water.
update.
Update.
We are very close to the next Frank Scalish merch drop.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
We've been working on this for like a year. So 100% in the drop is the return of the BTL Dayforce smallmouth bass, one of a kind Frank Scalish signature series drawing t-shirt, which is just the t-shirt. And they're working on some more natural colors just to see how it looks on the back. Our art team's working on it. So we might even show it to the listeners and see what they think.
Yeah, when we get them.
BTL on the chest, and then on the back, just that kind of chalk outline drawing of a Frank Scalish of the smallmouth big signature underneath it. That's the t-shirt. The second t-shirt, same t-shirt, which is, I can't remember what type of t-shirt it is, but
it was a heavy duty.
Yeah, but it's like a worn in t-shirt. It's awesome. The structural element shirt.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Is happening. Structural elements, contour lines that you drew through the phrase structural element. And then get this. So the guys, Catherine at ATS Printing, amazing. She's like, what if we put like a watermark stamp in the bottom corner so it says BTL / and then your autograph like just under the T and structural, or S and structural elements.
It's going to be so cool. I like it. I just like it because the topography behind the big lettering.
Now there's one more that we have. So the other one should be, do we do a loaded to the cork shirt where it just is a Frank Scalish t-shirt where it just says, here's what I'm picturing. Not big and gaudy. We're going a little bit smaller on it, where it's just the lettering right here. And it's just small, like computer lettering. And it just says loaded to the cork.
Yeah, I like that.
And then
I like
corner that. Frank Scalish signature.
I like it.
Okay, I'll call Catherine and ask that. And then the patches are in 100 of the, I think they're the smallmouth bass patch hats. Now here's the deal. It has become painfully aware to me over the last 6 months that the Richardson 112 is pretty much the only hat of choice for the 40-year-old Midwesterner now.
Yeah,
it was like the trendy the trendy hat or whatever. Now we're getting into different types of structures, rope hats, panel hats, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Richardson.
Yeah. So here's what we did. So the patches are the patches, right? So there's 100 patches that we paid for. Those patches will then be placed on a hat. But what we're going to do is, if you are one of there's only 100. It's when it's done, it's done. When the patches are gone, are gone. And we also did 100 BTL hats with a rubber patch. But we're going to give the viewers, the listeners, 4 choices of hat style to pick. So when you pick you buy the hat, then you select the hat, then they make it and send it out to you. So if you wanted less of a structure, if you want the Richardson 112, if you want a panel hat, if you want whatever, now it's the hat that fits your head.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that because my head's weird. So I need, hat that fits it and not presses my forehead in.
So then there'll be 100 of the BTL hats, which is like it's like a rubber patch that I actually like. Even after the last drop, I still owe them money after the last drop because I had to buy some of this stuff up ahead. But really cool BTL shirt. We're gonna go a little bit against the grain here and go a little bit new school mixed with retro. So think of like retro, like kind of the cursive, and it's just gonna say Bass Talk Live, all lowercase in cursive.
All right,
the chest on a t-shirt. So
a little more little simpler,
a little more subtle. Not so. Yeah. I think I've got. So then we will still offer that. But I mean, like if you're wearing that shirt, people know you're wearing that shirt, right?
100%. 100%.
So we're gonna go a little bit more natural, a little bit more mature, but keeping the traditional BTL stuff. So
yeah, I like it, man. I like it.
And then that'll be available open for 2 weeks on the BTL store. I'm actually going to try to get them to send me some stuff, and then maybe we can send it to you. You can go out, have Frankie take, like wearing the BTL apparel.
Loaded to the cork. Where's my lures? I don't have any lures up here anymore. What's going on? Yeah. My cats have decided that every time I do a BTL show, they are going to come up here and spend time with me. My one cat.
We love Bama and
Linny. Lynx is what her real name is, but everybody calls her whatever they want, so she doesn't answer to anything. But they come up here. So I used to have lures everywhere. So if I'm talking, I can just reach over and grab a bait and whatever. Now I can't because they think they're cat toys and they have hooks on them. So
one more thing, and this is a humble brag. Did you see I'm at the top of the leaderboard finally at a Bassmaster Open?
No.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Pull it up.
Here's the leaderboard for the Bassmaster Open, and there's me.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Matt, you're above the leader, dude.
Look
You're
at that.
You're above.
There I am. There I am. There I am. There I am. There's the leaderboard. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm at the top of the damn leaderboard, Frank.
Dude, you are above the leader.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That is so good.
Finally. My one chance.
Hey, I could say it. Good job out of you, Matt.
Thank you. All right. They redid StreamYard here, so it's harder to get to everything. All right, there it is. There's the music that we did a good job and got through 210 of these things.
Wow.
And next week we'll get through 211. Check out the Deep Dive app.
Can't wait.
Big supporters of BTL Day 4. Frank, thank you for another deep dive complete with stories and with diagrams and with maps. Good stuff.
And with Matt.
And Matt's. This has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. Same time, same place next week. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.